Hello, everyone. Either welcome to Global XR Bootcamp or maybe welcome back if you're tuning in for the panel. I'm joined here by 5 panelists, but let me first introduce myself. My name is Floor Drees, and I'm a senior program manager at Microsoft. And I'm joined here by 2 people who already had done their talks, so they're done. They're like, after this panel, they're done. They can relax and just watch the other talks. While 3 of them still need to do their talks. So maybe we can do a little round, and we start with Jörg, and we go like sort of clockwise, I guess. Is that clock? Whatever. We start with Jörg. You introduce yourself real quick, and if your talk is still coming up, which is the case in your case, right, Jörg? Tell the people watching why they should join for your talk.
Yeah, so my name is Jörg Rothe from TIBCO, Germany. So we're working on some labs projects, but I started working with BPM, Business Process Management, in 2001, working for TIBCO. So we have a huge enterprise data background. And we started also to work with TIBCO Labs on AR experience using HoloLens. You see it there. And also WebXR experiences using mobile phones and things like this. Yeah, so, and our session will be about using enterprise data in AR experiences. Yeah, so, and how to connect and how to connect to it. Yeah, so, but yeah, maybe Raphael, you can talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
To do the session together. Yeah, it's
this is double the amplification. But okay, for sure. Go for it.
Yeah. So I'm Raphael Derbier, and I work with Jörg at TIBCO. I've been in the software industry for a while on enterprise software, so helping enterprise to use the software to do something. And I'm also very curious, and I like to have my job fun. So I decided to work on innovation. So I'm basically paid to play with technology. That's pretty cool. And the point is to check the new technology and what we can do with them, understand the market, and bridge the gap between a new technology and the enterprise software, which is sometimes really boring, legals, security, something.
Compliance.
And compliance, and how to use that into the context of enterprise. So we will talk about that later on.
Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Hale. I'm the CEO and CTO of Wonderland Engine, which is the WebXR focused graphics engine. We also launched Construct Arcade, which is the world's first VR browser games platform, place where you can play free browser games that only work for WebVR. I'm also a co-host of the WhiteRabbit WebXR podcast. So if you want to check that out, it's on anchor.fm/WhiteRabbit. And I already did my talk on expanding the scope of WebXR projects.
Perfect. Timmy?
Great. I'm Timmy Kokke, also known as SourceCode on the internet mostly. I work as a mixed reality developer at Velicus. Outside of work, I do a lot with WebXR mostly. I run a meetup in the Netherlands, WebXR NL. I help running the WebXR Discord, and I stream twice a week on Twitch, building mostly WebXR apps. And I have a session coming up, I think, in 2 hours. It's about running your WebXR on your HoloLens, and I show how you can do stuff with A-Frame, a little bit of an introduction, how you can debug on the HoloLens, and actually do things on the HoloLens. So
it should do things. Yeah. Very good. Last but not least, Fabio.
Hi everyone, I am Fabio. I am a software engineer from Colombia. I'm currently working as WebXR developer at the Laboratory for Biomolecular Modeling at EPFL, which is a university in Lausanne, Switzerland. Basically, we are building applications, WebAR applications for teaching chemistry and biology.
Awesome. So now you know these are all experts. I'm completely new to the topic, but I followed Fabio's talk and I followed Jonathan's talk, and I figured that a lot of paradigms are actually the same as web development. So I kind of like could get something, but you know, like that's my level in this panel. So there you go. I would love to ask everyone at home or watching the stream to post their questions for our experts, and I will try and get them to answer the questions. And when you post your questions or your comments, please take care of our code of conduct, which will be posted in the chat momentarily. All right, let's start with those questions, shall we? Because I'm new to the topic, like I have a lot of questions myself, which you'll have to indulge. So one of them being, what makes WebXR so interesting compared to other native implementations? Let's go the same round as we went with the introductions, if you can still remember it.
Yeah, I think Jonathan had a great, Fabio had a nice talk about this, because it makes it very flexible to have just load some kilobyte of implementation as a JavaScript or HTML page into your browser on a mobile, just with a URL, and when it works, so it shows a nice experience. I think this is the main purpose why we do this. So not loading something from an app store, from the build community, and things like this. You change a few lines of code. We have seen it in Wonderland. So and then boom, it's changing the experience. So
to me, I would say that the web part in WebXR is the most interesting. That means it's a network. So that means at the moment you want the information, you get the right information at the right time. So you see the HTML did that for the book. The book you have to reprint. The HTML is up to date. So if you want to change the page, it's there, it's up to date. And WebXR will do the same for 3D visualization of data. So that means you can have it now. You don't have to download, prepare. And so that's really the interesting part to me.
Yeah, another like connecting to what Jörg said and what Raphael means with it's the web. It's just freedom, right? You have the cross-platform. It runs on any device. It's sandboxed, so you don't have to worry much about security, which is really great for corporations. We heard we need whitelisting sometimes for applications, get them through the IT department. And it's shareable and immediately accessible.
What do we need to add to that?
If you don't have anything to add, you just say +1. And
well, there is one thing, and it's a little bit different. I think there will be a place as well to get an integration into websites, maybe more as an AR part than a VR part. But then you will get a seamless transition from a website to an AR experience, for example, through the web. So it's more like an extension on the web on top of just building and run it everywhere. I think that's a great feature as well to have.
Okay, I'm not sure what to say now, but I would add it's something I particularly like a lot about WebXR is that since it's web-based, we can have the open source culture from the web, which is awesome.
Right. I like that one. And Fabio, because I like your answer a lot, because I love open source, we'll start with you for the next question and we'll go backwards, right? Because otherwise it's unfair to you. So my next question would be, what is the limiting factor why WebXR is maybe not widely in use yet? I noticed, Jonathan, you mentioned a couple of things in your talk also, and you mentioned at one point there's no such thing as a free lunch, which I picked a lot. So what are some of the challenges that you see? And we'll start with Fabio this time.
One of the challenges that we actually have faced here at EPFL with this educational platform is that there are so many devices out there. It's impressive the amount of devices where your users can consume the application. So supporting all of them, it's really, really hard. So I saw that as a challenge. And you as developer used to try the latest things, the latest development, latest branch of everything. But sometimes that will not work as expected on your users' devices, depending on the users you have. But if you, for example, you have college students or the first degrees or the first level of university students, that will be something hard to achieve as a good user experience for all of them in all of those devices.
Right.
I think that's actually one of the powers of WebXR as well. It runs everywhere. If you need to build a native application that is running on all those devices, it will be even harder, I think. And the web uses things like progressive enhancement to grow among the devices that can support something, and you can do that with WebXR as well. That means that on Safari, for example, it's way behind. That doesn't. And that's one of the things that is way behind. One of the big limitations to adopt WebXR is Safari. It doesn't run on I think it can be emulated a bit, but it's not as good as in Chromium. So that's I think for me that's one of the biggest limitations that you see now on people building things for WebXR.
Yeah, WebXR, WebGL especially also doesn't run, this WebGL 2 doesn't run on Safari for the longest time now. It actually will come very soon. So that's what the progressive enhancement there. The browsers get better all the time. As the developer of a big tool for WebXR, obviously, I find the biggest challenge is the tooling. We don't have a big engine like Unity, WebXR, Godot on WebXR that optimizes our assets for us and just takes chunks of our work time out of the process, right?
Right.
On my side, I'm it's not a limitation, but a point of attention, I would say. It's around usability and accessibility, and the fact that it's web, so it's connected to the DOM and the HTML stuff. But if you see the spirit of it initially, HTML was there to say, okay, there is a button, so I describe it as a button, and the browser can render it as it wants. So you can have a speech, for example. You can describe it to the user the way you want. As soon as you start to introduce in the web pixels with no metadata, then what they say, it's more imperative. So that means it's hard to translate that to somebody else in his own language. And it's opening a questions that is more on the technology. Every time you introduce a new technology, I think you have to think about how many people can you exclude. So politically, you have to say 0. You cannot exclude people. Technically, there will be people who will not be able to use it. So that's also something of interest. But I think Fabio started to mention that in terms of people starting to add metadata, so to be able to describe the scene. So I think it's not... it's a point of attention. I'm sure there will be new specifications around the metadata, the description of the scene, and the fact you can make it more usable and accessible. Yeah.
Super interesting. Maybe we can come back to that if we have a little bit of time later. Jörg?
Yeah, so I think the limiting factor is really, that Apple doesn't support it on Safari currently. So you have to download XR Viewer. It's available from Mozilla, but you have to download it first. And then you need to show the user how to open the URL in this WebXR Viewer. It's not so comfortable than in Chrome. And I think it's also very early stage for WebXR still. So because I had the experience, I developed on Saturday evening something, and everything was working. And when I restarted after a break my development on Monday, and the Chrome browser was updated to 84. I don't know if you guys had the same experience, but 84 was not really supporting or was breaking everything, and I searched 2 hours to get the solution. So, and then I thought this was just the wrong browser or the browser bug. So I downloaded the beta version of 85, and everything was working again.
Well, I see a lot of people nodding and smiling. So I guess like everybody has run into a similar issue, which is always the case with like newer technology. All right. We have some audience questions. So let's go to one of the audience questions. Joost van Schaik asks, so how far is WebXR compared to development in Unity for the HoloLens? Anyone who wants to pick up the question?
I can pick it up. You can build WebXR applications using Unity. It's not. It is a bit behind if you compare it to, for example, native development. But you can export to through an exporter from Mozilla to WebXR. There are a couple of other people building exporters, and there's integration coming. People are building it for the XR stuff in Unity. I've also worked with an exporter from Babylon.js, which uses actually TypeScript to export. So there are ways of using Unity, but it is harder to do than native, I think.
And I would add also on the Unity experience. We do a lot of Unity at the moment. What is interesting to me too is the interaction and the fact that you can add the physics and you have all this eventing. So when you talk about Unity, you have all the gaming engine and the events happening, so you can react to what's going on the scene. So I think it's still lacking on the WebXR that started with rendering things. And now we have to understand how we can track, either the real with the unreal, or even the object themselves when they were moving.
Okay. Next audience question, because we have a few, is from Arpu. Will Chrome or Edge get WebXR navigation like Oculus Chrome a fork? Anyone who wants to pick it up?
So I can pick that up. As far as I know, Oculus is actually working actively on the spec and trying to get the WebXR native navigation extension to the spec as well. So I think it's going to be standard eventually, and WebXR navigation has a lot of security considerations you have to make, because with links, you know exactly where you're going, and you're going to show trusted user interface in the browser that oh, this is my browser, right? It's transporting me somewhere else. With WebXR, it's a little difficult, because what ARPU is referring to with the WebXR navigation here is that you click on something in a WebXR page in VR, and then you get transported to another WebXR page already in VR. So basically, you get teleported to another place, which is great. But as you cannot tell where you're going, it's a lot harder from a security consideration standpoint. But they're working through that, and I think Oculus wants this at least to some degree in the spec as well. So,
cool. Thank you. A next audience question by Mark with a last name that I'm not going to pronounce is any restrictions for iOS and WebXR? I thought it wasn't fully supported.
No, it's using Mozilla. So I think it's fully using all the features that are currently available in WebXR. But maybe on iOS you can get more features like hand tracking or this image recognition and things with a native implementation. But from WebXR, I don't see the difference. So maybe others.
It is on the list, on the backlog of WebKit to be implemented, but I'm following it closely. But I don't think it's that they pick it up quickly.
So I think you can have implementations of WebXR or WebVR through some polyfill, so a JavaScript library you implement, and so you can use like a cardboard, put the iOS device into a cardboard, and there is all the JavaScript libraries which you can use to fall back to instead of WebXR until WebKit has engine support for WebXR itself.
Yes, in terms of WebAR, there are some restrictions as well. You have to basically tell your users to only use Safari, because if they try to access the camera and some other things, that you need for WebAR, it will not work in Chrome or any other browser, just Safari. So that's also a restriction there too.
Okay. Another question by Alex. Talking about Oculus and their Infinity Office, do you think that will bring XR more into the general public and maybe force Apple to bring more features to Safari? I feel like there's a lot of Apple bashing here in, in these questions, but who wants to pick that one up?
So we had Jacob Rossi, the product manager of Oculus Browser, on the White Rabbit podcast recently. The episode is not released yet, so I cannot talk about it much, but you'll probably want to listen to that when it's out.
Good teasing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry.
All right. What space do people need to watch in order to, be able to tune in for that, Jonathan?
You will find it on anchor.fm/whiterabbit. You'll find it on.
Did you notice
Spotify.
I gave him a little bit of airtime still? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And it's White Rabbit with a V, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. That's important.
More details. V.
Yes.
So the abbreviation is VR, right?
Perfect. Anyone else has anything to say to that beyond?
Yeah, connected to that, part of the question is also to how you can help promote AR in different audiences. So we will talk a bit about the consumer market versus the enterprise market this afternoon with Jörg, and how we see that. And it's connected to WebXR also. So we are more on the enterprise market, basically. But I found that WebXR was a fantastic tool to help promoting the technology of AR. So, for example, we are doing things with the HoloLens and some experience, but it's practically impossible to give HoloLens to every sales, so they understand the technology and they can talk about it. But Jörg created a small game internally. So, for example, on our sales kickoff, they will play the game based on WebXR, so they can have a first experience of what AR is about. And so I think this question is about how you can address a market with which technology, and maybe some other will follow after that. It's a good point, and it's part of the strategy when you want to promote augmented reality, at least for us in the enterprise landscape.
Yeah, to give them a sort of an experience already that is sort of guided and comfortable for people.
Exactly. So that's what we said previously on the WebXR, that it's on the web. You have your phone. You can at least experience something, and then you start to be curious, and you're asking about more informations, and then you can see the HoloLens experience or Oculus experience and VR. So I think it's really a very good entry point for any people to be familiar with the technology.
Yeah. So in the enterprise space, do you notice that there's some maybe discomfort, or people don't really know what to do with it, and they might be a little bit wary of even trying it before until they have someone sitting next to them, maybe hand holding a bit. Not in these times, of course. 1.5 meters distance, but generally.
Exactly. So that we stop doing those large events, and putting I
haven't even noticed.
On the head of people is not a good idea. But when we did it last year, so first thing, we are in a community that is really aware of AR, but I was really surprised. For the vast majority of people, they don't have a clue. They don't know the technology. So they have never heard about that, or they just heard about it. So it's there is a gap. So, and when we started to show some people on enterprise, I really liked the smile they had, and then they always came with an idea. So that was really surprising. They put the lenses down, and then they started to share some ideas about their business. Say, maybe I can use that in my, So I think the market is really there.
Interesting.
And we will do lots of interesting things here. Everybody,
Very cool. Well, that's talking a little bit of the future already. So maybe we can do a round on that. I mean, I do know that we have a whole panel that is just about the future. of the technology. But let's talk about that as well here, right? Like maybe people that are watching now won't be watching later. So I would love to hear from all of you, and we'll start with Jörg again. What do you think the future holds for WebXR? And then maybe also, Rafael, I would love to hear more about your thoughts on like accessibility and what kind of steps can be taken in that regard. By the way, everybody can speak to accessibility, but I think that's super interesting. If we were talking about having it adopted for larger audiences, then that's a big part of it as well. I'm guessing. Jörg, please start.
So how I see the future. So first of all, we need iPhone support, natively. So
I heard that once or twice.
So and when the market is open, basically you can put a URL somewhere on a website or have a little firmware integrated, and you see directly what you get, on at least on mobile devices. So I see the future more in AR, I have to say, because VR, it's on a mobile, it's not so interesting, I think, personally. But and then you can do advertising, you can show 3D objects, you can enrich what you see on the street, on the pub or whatever. So this is where I see this WebXR experiences, and also in gaming, why not? AR games.
Great.
But in the industry, you have also all kinds of more instructions, more ideas. So you see a lot of IoT stuff somewhere around. So little devices that show the temperature, don't touch it. When you see a code like we have seen it before, something like this. You put it somewhere, and then you know what device you see, and you see also some warnings or the status of the device in enriched details, right in place.
On my side, I see more of the usage of the mobility. So we started to say that the WebXR is an addition of AR in a web page, but the fact that the web page now is not on your computer anymore, is on your phone, and it's moving with you, and it has not been really leveraged if you think about it. So of course, people are tracking you and trying to put the right page depending on where you are, a few things like that. But the point is that if I have a page and a mobile, and you know that I'm in a specific context, so it could be enriched with the 3D model of what I'm looking at, some instructions, some more details. So I see really a mix of web pages with augmented reality information, but in the context of the mobility. So where you are and what you are doing and your experience. And so that will be a better and a richer context of the web information. So it's one of the paths I see for AR on the mobile.
Interesting.
Because the answers have been very AR heavy, I'll go a bit more into VR. First, from a technical side, I think with WebGPU and WebAssembly and all, the web is generally moving towards native in terms of performance and in terms of development tools. The web has amazing advantages: the shareability, the low friction, the iteration times, the development speed, the being able to share it and like publish it so fast. And I think with WebGPU, WebAssembly, and all improving over time, and the development experience improving, I think all of those advantages will shine even more in the future. Especially if we think about the future of VR in general. Imagine you're already working in a virtual office, basically with your 10 screens around you, working on web apps, maybe through the Oculus Quest Infinite Office or something. From Constructor Arcade, the next link to Constructor Arcade, playing a VR browser game, is not that far away. So I think providing highly accessible, small gaming ideas through Constructor Arcade is it's just a great thing. And I think it just fits well also in like the gain in popularity we see with the Oculus Quest 2 now. And we see this also through the Oculus browser with Constructor Arcade. So I think everything there is going to grow more, and WebXR and WebVR is going to be more popular. I think the use case for AR is already very, very robust. and talking about robust from a very experimental standpoint, but it's like compared to WebVR, it's very robust. I think companies understand how to use it, what to do with it, marketing wise, and I think we'll have the same for VR eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest point mentioning again is Safari. Bypassing the
Just
app
if
stores.
people didn't get the message.
Yeah, if they missed it. Actually, the funny thing is when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, he was talking about not VR but creating websites with Safari and creating Web 2.0, and he was really excited about it. And then eventually that led to the App Store. And I think in the end he will be right, and we just bypass the App Store. Everything will be web, and people just sit on their couch browsing a website and going into AR to try things out. Or maybe when you, for example, buy a kitchen, you will at the kitchen store, you will wear a HoloLens type device or a VR device to build your kitchen, and then you open that same website from home, and you can just try out your kitchen in your own kitchen, if you know what I mean. I think we slowly will move to something like that, where there will be, for enterprises, they will have the more expensive headsets, and at home everybody has a phone. So that I think that will be a really big factor where we will see WebXR grow.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, continuing what you say, I think that the mass adoption of WebXR will be key for the adoption of immersive technologies in general, especially in low-income countries. For example, in South America, it's really hard to get a device, not enterprise level like a HoloLens, which is harder. But for consumer, Oculus devices, the HTC devices are hard to get and are super expensive. So in most places in this kind of low-income countries, basically the only way for many people to access immersive technologies is using their phone. Yeah. So I think in the future, as far as or as much as the WebXR API evolves and all those super technical things that are going on right now that will be improving in the upcoming years and upcoming months, I guess, this will be helping a lot for the mass adoption of these kind of technologies.
Maybe if Apple comes up with smart glasses, then with support of WebXR, then it will be done. So someone mentioned your hands in chat. Yeah, if you can use your hands, you don't have to use your phone. You use your smart glasses, your AR-enabled glasses as your phone. Yeah, maybe that is something we can see. And then you have your hands, and you just wear your phone everywhere, and it will integrate into the real world, and then through the web, maybe. Yeah, I can see that happen.
Super. Right. We have another audience question by Nitish. I'm interested in this technology and to get into this field, or like it's channeling myself. So as an expert, what can you say or suggest for a beginner? Where to start, probably? Like, what is good getting started? Resources, material?
I think if you are in web already, I think A-Frame is a very good place to start. There's A-Frame School, I think it's called, where you just get to start by writing a little bit of HTML, and then you place a cube and a sphere, and it slowly takes you into WebXR. And you can, from the first moment you build something with A-Frame, you can run it on an Oculus Quest if you have one, or whatever device you have. I think that's a great way to get into it if you have no prior knowledge to any of the 3D stuff.
Awesome. It would be great if someone can paste it in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. And
anyone else?
Yeah, when you can also start with Three.js, they have also great WebXR experiences with hit test and so on. Yeah, so.
Yes, A-Frame, definitely super recommended A-Frame, because you can also create AR stuff easily. If you have super basic knowledge of A-Frame, you can jump into AR.js real quick. And also with the AR mode of A-Frame, you will find a great community behind A-Frame, which is awesome too. And there's a lot of people out there willing to help.
I wish I could recommend Wonderland Engine here, but our documentation is not good enough yet to pick up a beginner. Though if you come from Unity, then it has a similar workflow, so you might want to look at that. A-Frame, I think, is a very, very good recommendation because the HTML is fairly simple to learn, and from there you can dig deeper with, for example, Three.js. There's also, if you are an artist and have no experience with coding at all, you might want to start with, there's a thing called Model Viewer, which just allows you to, like, you export your model from Blender or whatever you use, and you can load that, and it already gives you scenes. Even though they might not be interactive, it's ever so slightly more simple to use than A-Frame. Yeah.
Very cool. There's a lot of material. I hope that someone was writing in the chat so that people can just have a look at all of this stuff. Another audience question by Riley. Jonathan talked about the need for more abstracted tool sets for the creation of XR content. Do you see tools coming out for the creation of WebXR content while inside an XR browser? Jonathan, you're mentioned in the question, so I'm thinking you probably should pick up at least the first comment.
It's a really cool question because it's thinking about, like, on a meta level, building WebXR experiences in WebXR or something like that. I've seen some things on Twitter. I think there is something where someone live coded a game and, like, continuously saw, like, the changes in his 3D scene. I think it'll be hard to get adoption for that because like making the jump directly into XR and developing in XR seems like a long one, but probably eventually, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, I don't think we'll do much on 2D desktops anymore anyway, so probably.
Great. It's a great summary.
And
Does it?
yeah. So I see that for some specific use cases we are studying with the HoloLens, but I think they will come also on the WebXR and mobile. It's, for example, the inspection use case. So you would like somebody to inspect a room for security. So they have to check if there is a fire extinguisher, the exit, or whatever. So there will be somebody that will build the experience. So today they are building that into something like a Unity, or they will do a model. But I really see that they will do the same tool. So they will walk around and the scene is empty, but they will create the scene as the creator mode. And then they can say, okay, that's the checklist where people have to see things or experience. And then the other person will use the same web browser, but to use into the inspection mode. So yes, with the notion of anchors. So I think it's a good point saying probably the same tool will be used to create and to consume in a way. Yeah. I really see that coming. So that's probably something to monitor a bit. Not for everything, because you will have some more sophisticated experience to prepare upfront and then for consumer. But there will be some basic experience that will be created and consumed in an interactive way, probably.
Yeah.
But we are not there yet, so there are building blocks.
Exactly. Curb your enthusiasm. Great. Wait, we have one more question indeed by Joost. Can you do things like hand tracking, eye tracking, and spatial mapping in WebXR? Thank you, Timmy, for reminding me of this question.
Yeah, I can answer it, I think.
Who would have thought?
I think the answer is partly yes and partly no. You can do hand tracking. There is a component for A-Frame that does hand tracking. I think there was a release of Babylon.js yesterday that added hand tracking with the joints and stuff. It is in the spec. I don't know about eye tracking, but I assume it's not there yet, but it might be in the spec, and spatial mapping as well. It is in the spec, but it's worked on. It's not in the implementation yet, as far as I know. So hand tracking is available now, and I think eye tracking and spatial mapping will be there eventually.
Eye tracking sounds very interesting for me, because when you need to run both cameras of the device or not, because you see and the camera is watching you, basically, your eyes.
Yeah, if you run it on a phone or something, but if you have a device that supports eye tracking, like the HoloLens 2 or some other VR devices that do that, it might be interesting to work with that. I think spatial mapping will be first. You can do like in ARKit or in AR Core, it can detect surfaces. I've played with that. That's in there already, but not like the HoloLens does an entire spatial map of your room. That's not in there yet.
The Oculus Quest, again, is pioneering the hand tracking also in the spec a bit here. They have it in the Oculus browser, but behind a flag. So if you go to Chrome / flags, you can enable it early. Wonderland Engine, by the way, also supports the hand tracking. And
smooth.
Yeah. And so yes, you can do hand tracking, eye tracking. I don't know about any device that exposes that through WebXR yet.
Ha. Great, thank you. I think we're running out of time a little bit, but that's good. That's good. That just means that we have had a really great, conversation. I would love to know from you what of today's program you're most looking forward to, excluding your own talks, or the other panelists' talks to just be nice to them. So. I can imagine that for Jonathan and Fabio, it's maybe just like watching the rest of the conference and relax because they don't have to, talk themselves anymore. But anything in specific that you're looking forward to, or you think people should definitely check out?
Yeah, here I am excited about the Ricardo Acosta talk about design for mixed reality, UX design for mixed reality.
Cool.
Should be amazing. Should be an amazing talk. I guess it will be an amazing talk.
Great. Let's go like this.
To Timmy's talk about HoloLens.
We're not allowed to promote each other's talk. So
still, I'm looking forward to all the WebXR talks. So
me too.
All your talks.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, great content, and I'm especially interested in the business use cases, seeing what people think about what they can do with this. I really like also in Fabio's speech what you said about seeing molecules, so teaching. So it's really interesting to see a part of the technology, how you do it, but then how you can use it for a benefit for something. So it's really interesting to see that. And the second point is to see the type of questions of the audience and better understand who is watching,
right,
what their interest. So please put in the chat even your ideas, what you're working at. I think everybody here is interested in knowing this community better, and it would be interesting for us.
Yeah, I have to mention my colleague Joost van Schaik is doing a talk tomorrow, and I'm looking very forward to that one as well. I just have to mention it.
Yeah,
that's allowed. He's not on the panel. That's allowed.
Well, he's on the screen now, so.
Well, he's just smiling now.
Kind of. His face is on the panel now.
Still doesn't count.
Okay.
Jörg, what are you
I
looking for?
watched already 2 sessions here, and I will watch also one more, I think. And I think all the sessions will be available tomorrow as well, or all recorded, on YouTube. So I will watch several sessions later on, but our session ends at 10, I think, my time at least, in the evening. So maybe I will do a break first.
That's fair.
Other sessions later.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think we have one sort of last-minute question by Mostafa. Can anyone apply machine learning in WebXR?
You can do machine learning on the web, so yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a yes, Mostafa. And that's also ending this panel at a very positive note, right?
Yeah.
Just yes. Not it depends.
No, you can. If you can do anything you can do on the web, you can do in WebXR. If you want to do web audio, it's being done all the time. So you can do everything you can do on the web, you can do on WebXR.
And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it, is to connect it to other technologies. So
Yeah.
ML on the AR, it's a really interesting topic. So for sure,
Yeah, for sure.
we will have some use cases around that.
Very cool. All right. I want to thank you very, very much. Any parting words?
Thank you.
Although, thank you is a good parting words. Thank you so much. I've learned so much from all of you. But I mean, that was easy. There wasn't much there wasn't much of a level before, but I learned so much, and this was really cool. And I think I love everything you can do on the web. You can do in WebXR. That's good. All right. I guess I have my weekend cut out for me. I have to look more into this. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.